There we go. Now it's recorded.
I'll throw the little.
That's it. That's you done. There we go. Right. So on our knees, standing or on a chair, but ideally on your knees, either with a cushion under your knees or just bare knees because you are rock hard. And I'm going to face you, but I would prefer you to have your mat in front of you so that you can come onto it and off it again. So heels press, knees pressing into the floor. Heels can be, or toes rather, can be tucked under, heels up or heels down, whatever feels comfortable. And then all I want you to do here is just a little side bend. So we're just going to go from one side to the other. Now as you do that, we're trying to keep the hips still as we begin to warm up the spine. Draw your belly button away from your t-shirt and tighten up through the pelvic floor. Now hold that into the center, breathe in and bring the arms forward, out and down. Okay, so we're just going to mobilize through the shoulders. Now you can see how at this point in time, you could very easily be sitting in a chair doing this, or you could be standing. All right, being on your knees isn't particularly important right now. One thing that's nice about it is that it helps keep your hips still, and it also helps you keep that bum tucked under so that we're nice and tight through the center. Now as we reach the 8th repetition and the arms come up and out, just keep the arms where they are, bend the elbows, and then fold the arms in and out. Now, if that's too much, don't go so far, okay? Because some of us are really tight here, especially so early on in the day where perhaps we haven't done very much yet. And if we're sleeping like that, then everything in the front is quite tight. So as we pull back, you might want to be a little cautious on that pulling back. Now, next time when you fold the arms, keep the arms folded, breathe in. And on the out breath, rotate towards one side. Breathe into the center. And on the out breath, rotate to the other side. We're just going to keep that action going from one side to the other. Now again, you can see how easily you could be doing this sitting in a chair or standing up. Either would work. Equal number to each side so that we balance out the sides. And I'm going for 8 roughly for everything, 4 on each side. And then I'm going to drop the arms down, tuck the chin in, and this is where really you probably do want to be on your knees because you're going to walk the hands onto the floor. Now if you're really uncomfortable being on your hands because of your wrists or there's a problem with your hands, then you can come up onto your knuckles if you prefer. I want you to rise all the way up into a cat stretch. So pull your belly button right up to the ceiling. Then articulate the spine and transition smoothly through to a cow. Now as we go all the way up, the tailbone tucks under, the belly button rises. Activate the arms as if you're pushing the floor away. And then tilt the pelvis, walk the spine through, and then lift the chin. And at that point, really be sure that you're not wearing your shoulders as earrings, because there's a tendency when we move up to cow to let the shoulders rise towards the ears. And there's the last repetition. Between those two extremes, there is a neutral back, and I'd like you to go there now. So neither cat nor cow, but somewhere in between. Tighten up through the pelvic floor, pull the belly button towards the spine, and slide the left leg away along the mat. Square up the hip and raise the left leg up into the air, then lower. So that left leg just going up and down. The trick here is to maintain stability through the hip and to slightly internally rotate from the thigh. Okay, let's do one more repetition there. Hold the leg up. Now you can stay like that, or you could peel the right hand up and off the ground. And as you breathe out, tap the knee. Breathe in and lengthen. Breathe out and tap. Now the difficulty here lies in keeping the bum still, because it's very tempting to move forward and back. If you keep your bum still, then your tummy will have to do a significantly heavier amount of work, greater amount of work. Now, last repetition, and we're going to hold that out. I put the hand back down, tuck the toe under, and lower the foot to the ground. Now, I want you to imagine that you're balancing a cup of tea on your back. As you breathe out, try to get the right knee to come off the ground without moving your bum. Let's do that again. And again. And I'm pulling my shoulder blades down my back, my shoulders away from my ears. I'm keeping my bum as still as I can and taking that leg up and back down. Now, as I reach the last repetition, number 8, or up to 8, I'll step back and I'm in a full plank. Then I'll drive the bum up and away from my hands into down dog. As I come forward, bend the knees, walk the hands towards the knees and roll back up to kneeling. So once again, we're back up on our knees. Again, I'm going to face you so you can see. Shins pressing into the ground. I want you to bring both arms forward, but this time, see if you can get the arms all the way up to the ears before circling them out and down. Let's do that again. So the arms, trying to get them up to the ears before you circle out and down, but not by lifting the chest. So if the chest comes up like that, you've gone too far. Only go as far as you can go without bringing the chest up. And as the arms come out and down, I want you to try and get your fingertips to the floor. Now, I know you're not going to be able to, unless you're very awkwardly shaped, but that's your aim. So you feel the stretch around the shoulders. Now, on the last repetition, which I think this one is, number 8, hold the arms out wide. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, rotate to the side. First one way, and then the other. Now remember, at this point, if you're uncomfortable on your knees, you could take a seat in a chair or you could stand up. And as we go from side to side, notice that the arms are not moving. The rotation comes from the twist of the spine and the rib cage moving. Hold in the center and bring the hands behind the head. Then as you breathe out, drop the elbow towards the floor on one side and then towards the floor on the other side. And as you go from side to side, try to prevent the hip from sticking out. So you want those legs to be perpendicular to the floor and no hint of movement through the hips. And then as we reach the last repetition, come back into the center, take the arms out and down and lower the arms back down towards the sides. Now from there, we're going to do the other side. So deep breath in. And as you breathe out, chin tucks onto the chest. Now this is where you really do want to be back on the floor. First thing is the cat to cow. So push the floor away. Activate the arms and then in one smooth move, made up of lots of tiny little moves, we go from one to the other. Pushing the floor away in cat, pushing the shoulders down and away in cow. And when you've done up to 4 cycles here, Find your neutral position. Tighten the pelvic floor and tighten the belly button towards the spine. Slide the right leg away along the mat. Internally rotate slightly. So I'm almost trying to get my little toe more onto the floor. Then breathe out to lift, breathe in to lower. Straight up and down. So we're working through the bum, the hamstring, but also through the tummy at the same time. Now, 8 is not a magic number. There's nothing special about it. So if you wanted to do 10, that's okay. If you just wanted to do 4, that's okay. And then on the last repetition, hold that right leg up. Peel, if you can, the left arm off the ground. And as you breathe out, tap the knee. Remember, our focus is to push forward towards the fingers and not let us drift backwards towards the bum. Okay? The more you push forward, the harder this is for the tummy. All right. I'm doing 8 as my number today, so there's number 8, and then I'm going to lower the hands. Tuck the toe under on that right foot and lower the foot down. Remember, you can be up on your wrists, up on your knuckles if your wrists are giving you problems. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, pull the other leg just off the ground. Try to keep the shoulders down and away from the ears. So almost make that part of the move. Shoulder, knee. There we go. Shoulder, knee. Sounds like I should be going head, shoulder, knees, and toes. And tighten the tummy. So this is a great way to practice a plank without doing a full plank. On the last repetition, my number is 8. I'm going to step that leg back so that I'm in a full plank. Now you've got a choice. You can go straight down to your knees here if you don't like being in a full plank. Once you're there, we're going to alternate leg lifts. So we just practiced with one leg when we were on our knees. Now we're doing one leg at a time, obviously. If you could do both at once, don't let me hold you back. There we go. Now, when you get to 8 repetitions, where are we? I think it must be this one. I'm going to drive up and back. It can be on my hands or on my knuckles. Into down dog. Then sweep forward onto my knees and push off my hands once again. So now I'm back on my knees for the last time here. So knees underneath hips, hip distance apart, nice and perpendicular. And then once again, we're going to take a deep breath in, bring the arms forward. Take them as high as they can go. Circle the arms out and down. Let's do that again. Bring the arms forward. This is just what we did before. Trying to keep the shoulders down. So a little bit of release for the shoulders. Now, next time when the arms are open wide, hold them out wide. Take one hand towards the floor and the other arm to the ear. Now, bend to the side. And your aim is to try and touch the floor right beside your knee. Now, of course, you could be doing this standing just as easily, although I doubt you'd be able to touch the floor, right? Or you could be sitting in a chair doing exactly the same thing. It's about the side bend. Magic 8, and then we'll swap the arms over. So one to the leg, one to the ear. And then over. Now it's really tempting for this arm, I don't know what that is, but it goes wandering off. Keep it attached to your ear and it will assist you by pulling you over slightly. Okay, and try to keep that arm nice and straight. I have one lady that I train with who does this. Like, no, arm to ear, not head to arm. There we go. Now as you reach your last repetition, float the arms out wide once again, but this time I'm going to turn sideways for this. I want you to tuck your chin in and round your shoulders. Then breathe in and arch back. Now notice, I'm trying to keep my pelvis still, so I'm not pushing forward with my bum. I'm keeping my bum tucked under and I'm sticking my chest out. So think a little bit more Barbara Windsor and Carry On Camping, right? Yeah, that's what you always think when you, more like Sid James, right? Now, forward and back, there we go. And on the last repetition, just hold it forward, there. So we round it through the back. Tuck the chin in, and once again, we're going back down onto the floor, onto our hands and knees. Now, keeping your bum, I'm going to move backwards so I've got the room. Keeping your bum where it is, so you know how we want to push it back all the time. Keeping your bum over your knees, walk your hands forward along the mat. And I think it was Karen, wasn't it, sent some of us a really great little picture of a panda doing this. So bum up in the air, flattening the chest towards the ground. And you see cats and dogs doing this kind of stretch all the time. The idea is to really flatten through the thoracic spine, through the middle of your back, and feel that stretch right between the shoulder blades. Now, from there, we're not quite done on our knees yet, so walk your way, get fed up with it. I don't remember my knees anymore. And push yourself off and up to stand. So you should feel like you just stretch through the middle of your back. I'm going to do a little bit of work there now. So breathe in and bring the arms out wide to the side once again. Take one hand behind the head and take the other hand towards the tailbone. Now this creates already a flexibility issue. Breathe in, and then as you breathe out, swap over. So can you see how there's got to be a rotation as you go from the head, rotate to go to the tailbone. Rotate behind the head. Now that little movement works the shoulders. If it's too much for you because of flexibility, pulling on a scar or an old injury, or there's some rotator cuff thing going on, then just do the exact same thing to the front. Okay? Although I feel I turn into Benny Hill when I do that. Now, at the back, it looks like this. Try to lengthen out as far as you can. All right. Now, the shoulders should start to ache. So what we're going to do is take 8 deep breaths. And we're going to pick up the pace of the arms as we continue the breathing. So we must be on around breath number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Relax the arms, burning, right? Relax the arms and roll out the shoulders. Then from this kneeling position, let the arms completely relax. And as you breathe out, squeeze the bum cheeks together, press through the shins, and see if you can just gently lean back up to vertical. Okay? So your aim, of course, is to be able to get horizontal, and just generally in life. No, your aim is to get horizontal here, but be able to come back up to vertical. So if you can go further, then go further, but the trick is you've got to be able to get back up again, okay? And you should feel a stretch through the front of your thighs. No arching in the back. So even if you go a long way back, you're not arching your back. You're staying in a straight line from your knees. Now to improve that, I'm going to get you to step 1 foot forward. Now we've done this quite a lot lately. That front foot creeps forward towards the end of the mat. Then I try to drive that knee towards my toe, but my knee ends up over my ankle, not over my toe. So if your foot's too far back, your knee will be over your toe, and that just puts a lot of pressure on that joint, and it doesn't improve the stretch. Opening it up will give you more space here at the back. Square up the hips. And again, it's really tempting for me to twist towards you. So square up the hip. And then we're going to reach for that leg at the back, she said confidently. And if you can, grab that foot. Now that's giving me an even more intense stretch down the front of my thighs. If you're finding that it's purely balance that is an issue here, then grab a chair or put your hand near a wall and use that to assist your balance. I'm going to release that foot and slowly lower it down. Stepping back onto my knees. See what it feels like now that you're kneeling if you're to go back. Now for me it feels really wonky because I feel like one side is much longer than the other. So let's not do that very much. Let's change legs. Here's the other leg. So step forward, a nice long distance. It's really open through this knee. So now when I drive forward, my knee is at 90 degrees. Feel that stretch, and if that's all you want, stay there. That's okay. Just enjoy that stretch through the hip and the thigh. But if you feel comfortable reaching for that foot at the back, then reach for the foot at the back, bringing your heel towards your bum, squaring up your hip and enjoying again a little bit more stretch down the front of the thigh. I'm going to slowly, slowly release that leg and come back for the last time, I promise, in a kneeling position. Squeeze the bum, ease back, and it should feel once again better balanced, but also for me a little bit easier, less intense in terms of the stretch as I go back. Right then, so I can finally bring you off your knees, and we're going to do that by coming onto our bums. So flip yourself over until you're on your bum. Back is feeling like it needs a little bit of a stretch, so that's where I'm going to go first. I'm going to hook my hands firmly, so I'm grabbing my wrists behind my legs, and I'm making sure that I'm right up on my sitting bones, not on my tailbone. With the knees bent and using the legs for resistance, I push my belly button backwards, away from the legs, rounding my shoulders until my belly button drops towards my spine. I'm getting a big stretch through the back, and then I can rise back up to sitting, bumping my way back onto my sitting bones. Now, it might be a little bumpy. I think back in the day when we were live and in studios, Davina said that she could really feel a sitting bones kind of go gunk as you come up, and that's okay. It's not pleasant, but it is okay. Now, from there, I'm going to reduce the contact with the back of my legs to just fingertips only. Breathe in, and then as I breathe out, it's like I've been punched in the stomach, and I roll slightly back. And I'm looking for the tipping point where my tummy really engages and it feels like my legs are about to leave the floor. Then I'll pull myself back up to sitting. Now I'm going to give you lots of options. You can just carry on with this one. So there's option one. To make it harder, do exactly the same thing, but don't hold on. So again, option two, same thing. I tuck the tailbone under, but I just don't hold on. Now, option three is a little more challenging. And when you get back in option three, you're going to lift first one leg and then the other. And we'll do that maybe twice each, 2 or 3 times each. And then rise back up. And you can continue with that. Or to make it harder still, and this is option 4, you lift both legs up and extend, bend, put them down and rise. So now we've got 4 more repetitions. I'll go through them all. Option 1, keeping your hands behind your legs, so you're using your legs to help your tummy. Option 2, you take away the support and you just let your arms stay over your legs and rise back up. Option 3, when you get there, you lift one leg at a time. There it is, one up, one down, one up, like you're marching. Yep, feeling that tummy, oh, doing a good bit of work. And then rise back up. And option number 4, the bad boy, the big one. You roll back, you hold, you pick up both legs, then you extend and bend before putting both legs down. Now when you rise back up this time, pop your hands behind you to make yourself a little bit more comfortable and let the knees drop from side to side. So we take a little bit of a breather here as we get a twisting action. This time not by twisting the upper body, but by twisting the hips. Now from there, reset the feet and keeping the hands behind you. As you breathe out, see if you can drive the hips up, pushing the knees towards the toes. Now, my left leg's slightly longer than my right, so I always end up dropping my right hip. So try to get the hips level and then drop straight down. So the hinge point is at your lap, right? Right across through the hips. Try that again. So you breathe out, the bum comes up. You breathe in, the bum goes down. Now the majority of the work is being done by the legs, so the arms don't really contribute that much except to stop you falling over. Okay? Last repetition, and then back down. Now from there, slide one leg away along the mat until it's nice and straight and pull yourself up using the bent knee. Then lift and lower the straight leg up and down. Let's go for 8. But watch that you're not leaning back, because I tell you what, that's a lot easier than sitting up on those sitting bones and lifting that leg. Swap the legs over, pull the other leg in, and then lift and lower. Now, if this bent knee causes you grief, don't worry about it. You can keep it straight and you can lift the leg without it. Ideally, you wouldn't have your hands on the floor because you're trying to work your tummy here as well. When you've done your 8, keep the legs straight, take a deep breath in, lift the arms, so now both legs are straight, breathe out and fold forward. Breathe in, run the hands back along the mat, lift, breathe out, fold forward. 2 more like that. And it's the lift that I want you to focus on. This moment here, just before you go down, where you've got to rise up to drop to the feet. And as you reach your last repetition, we're going to put all of that together. So, we take a deep breath in, lift the ribs, fold forward. Pull the hands back, bend one knee. Then hold that bent knee and lift one leg. Let's go with, I don't know, let's do 4 times. Then we'll bend both knees, hands behind you, and lift your bum up and down once. Straighten the other leg, hold your bent knee, and lift and lower that leg 4 times. Then I straighten both legs, take a deep breath in, and fold forward. Here we go again, run back, bend one knee, doesn't matter which one, lift the straight leg 4 times. Make sure you're up nice and tall, and then bend the other leg. Put your hands behind you, lift your bum up and down. Straighten the other leg. That leg goes up and down 4 times. You got it now, right? And then straighten that leg, lift up. Fold forward, spine stretch. Pull back. One leg stays straight, one leg is bent. 5 work. 4 times we go up and down. Bend both legs, reverse tabletop, up and back down. Straighten the other leg, 4 times, up and down, and then both legs straight. Now this is it. Lift, wait for it, and hold. Okay, now stay here and take a moment. Keep trying to get your rib cage up and over your belly button so that you can get your hands ideally around your feet. However, if that is too much and your hamstrings are just not letting you play ball, then soften your knees and just drop the chin onto the chest. Round the shoulders and feel the stretch through the back. Pilates calls this position the spine stretch, and that is our target. The stretch that you feel in your hamstrings is a kind of side effect. Now from there, slowly roll yourself back up to sitting. And when you get to sitting, bend the knees, and we're going to roll ourselves down to lie. So now I come all the way down onto the mat. Take a moment to set up neutral. Always remember neutral and natural are not necessarily the same thing. So for me, because I have a tendency to have one foot in front of the other, I put my feet together, then I kind of go heel toe, and I know that then my feet are lined up. Knees and feet hip distance apart. Gap under the lower back, but the tailbone and the bottom rib press gently into the mat. Shoulders down and away from the ears, face in the center. And as I breathe out, all I'm going to do to begin with is rock the pelvis. First one way and then the other. Just get that little tilt back and forth. No reason other than it starts to bring in control. Because now what I want you to do is as you tilt your pelvis, check your knees aren't moving. No, I mean really, you should be able to tilt your pelvis without moving your legs. Pilates is as much about what's not moving as what actually is moving. So retain the neutral position or reset the neutral position and then float first one leg up and down and then the other. And as I bring that knee up and over my hip, nice little position, 90 degrees through the knees, tapping the floor and just trying to get that knee over the hip. The focus is not on the leg. The focus is actually on maintaining neutral. Now finish with the leg up and bring the other leg up to join it. And then from there, we're just going to drop the leg down. First one and then the other. Now this is harder because you're maintaining the legs in the air, so you're already working more. And also because we're trying to press the back gently into the mat rather than let it flare up. Now if that feels okay, then interlace the fingers, hook the hands behind the head and keep the legs going, bringing the head and shoulders off the ground. Now that should mean that you're starting to work the tummy harder, but in some ways it's easier to keep the back on the ground. Still too easy? I thought so. In which case, straighten the legs. First one and then the other. Now that makes it a lot harder because we've lengthened the lever. So we're going to do 4 more like this. And then keeping the legs going, we're going to unhook the hands from behind the head and reach for the back of the leg. So now we make it more about the hamstrings and less about the tummy as I pull the leg in towards me. I'm going to finish with the right leg towards me and the left leg on the floor as I lower my head and shoulders, just a little ankle rotation with that right foot. Then I'm going to circle that right leg out, round, across and up. Now in theory we would always breathe out on effort, and the effort is on the way up. Then go the other way. So you can try the rotation in the opposite direction. Now finish with that leg in the air and bend the knee. Bring the other leg to join it. So now both knees are bent. Hook the hands behind the thighs. And we're going to do a little hollow hold. So tuck your chin in and lower the feet towards the ground, bringing your head and shoulders with you. So now I'm kind of balanced. Let me just get that, there it is, just on my tailbone. I'm holding the back of my legs and there's a kind of equal force going through the legs and going through the upper body. Now if that feels okay, try straightening first one leg and then the other. Now if this is all too much, just put your head and shoulders back down on the ground. If this is okay, try straightening both legs at once and bend. Now I'm starting to roll backwards, so I need to reset my position. There it is. Belly button pulled to spine. Now on the last one, I'm going to hold the legs up and take the arms away. Pause and pull the belly button right down to the floor. The tummy should be on fire here. Then bend one knee, pulling it in as you roll back down. Keep the other leg straight. And swap. And swap. So now we're pulling a bent knee in, but the head and shoulders are down on the ground. Now the next time when the left leg is straight, keep it straight and lengthen the right leg away along the mat. I'm going to hold that leg and do a little ankle rotation. First in one direction and then the other. And then that whole leg is going to circle. Now remember, it's not about the circle. It's about the control everywhere else. So the other leg must stay still. The shoulders must be down away from the ears. There we go. And then on the last repetition, bring both legs up into the air. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of options. So let's make it easier first. Bend both knees to about 90 degrees, maintaining imprint spine, lower and lift both knees at once. So there's option one. Option two, do exactly the same thing with straight legs. And then option three, which is the one I'd ideally like us to do, is a corkscrew. We circle the legs first in one direction, then come back and circle the legs in another direction, like there's more than two. Side one and side two. One way and then the other. But remember, it's control. So whilst it's the legs that's moving, it's the tummy that's working to control the movement. So the bottom half of the tummy is controlling the legs, and the top half of the tummy is stopping your upper body moving. As you reach number 8 in the set, hug the knees in, close to the chest, and bring the head and shoulders off the ground as if you're trying to sniff your knees. Then breathe in and lengthen the legs, breathe out and pull. Pilates calls this his double leg stretch. So if you would rather put your head and shoulders down on the ground just now, then of course go ahead and do that. Okay, let's do 2 more. There. And roll the head and shoulders down now. Keeping the knees in close. See how this feels. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, rock up to sitting, trying to keep the feet just off the ground. Breathe in, roll back, breathe out, roll up. Now, if this is not for you, and it's not for everybody, I know that for some people this is really uncomfortable, in which case don't do it. But do come up to sitting, because that is where we're going to end up. Hang on, 1 more, magic 8. And there we are. Finish in that sitting position with the knees bent, and we'll drop both knees towards the same side. So both knees facing forward. I've got one hand on my ankle and one hand on the floor. The arm from the ankle comes to the ear and you go over. Now you can bend that supporting arm if you want to go further or not. And remember that old cushion that you had? If you, well, it might not be old, might be a brand new cushion. Tuck it under your hip if you think that would help. Because sometimes just lifting that hip slightly off the floor gives you a better range. If the arm coming up like this pulls on an injury, either through the shoulder or through an old scar, then of course, just don't do it. You can wrap the arm around the front. That's okay too. And when you've done roughly 4 or 5 on one side, sweep the legs around. There we go. And we'll do 4 or 5 on the other side. So the arm comes over to the ear. Oh, flip. I always think that no, that must be my bad side. And then I do the other side. I'm like, no, that's the bad side. This side for me is a real struggle to get over. Here we go. Oh. Okay, last repetition, 4 or 5 to each side. And then bring your hand back down onto the mat, slightly behind you. That's then going to bring me round once again onto my hands and knees. And we're going to go straight into that thoracic stretch. So walk the hands forward once again, aiming to get the armpits to drop to the floor without moving your bum backwards. So you're trying to kind of stabilize almost the lower back so that you can encourage a stretch through the mid back. Great. Now from there, keep low. So your nose, you're wiping your nose along your mat as you push your bum back to your heels. And you're still in a kind of extended position. The fingertips are as far forward as they can go. And if you don't like this, because you don't like your knees being compressed like this, then stay where we were. That's also perfectly okay. And then from here, I'm going to take the right arm and pass it under the left, palm up. And I'm just going to have a quick look at it. Yep, it's definitely there. And then drag the knuckles along the mat and up and out the other side. Call it thread the needle, yeah? So the arm goes through one side, pulls back and up the other side. Let's do that again. Under, round and up. One more time. Under and up. Now we'll do exactly the same thing on the other side. So the fingers are forward, you pass the arm under the armpit and up. There we go. I can feel a great stretch in the shoulder in the right side as I'm pressing that down into the floor. And I'm getting a little more mobility out of the left side. There we go. Now that arm comes down onto the ground. Now we're going to creep our way forward along the mat. I'm like I'm in some kind of like Rocky movie. No, not Rocky. Whatever, Rambo, that's it, movie, crawling along the floor. Feet together, knees together, and then one leg at a time just flicks. Now, while you flick the heel to the bum, take a moment to concentrate on what's going on through the tummy. I'd like you to tighten the waist. Join the feet and knees, ankles together and flick both heels at once, bringing the heels towards the bum, trying to get a nice big range there. Notice how the knees want to separate as you bend them. There we go. Now that's the last time. I'd like you to try this, but elevate your upper body slightly. So I'm coming up onto my elbows. Let me find a good position. My belly is still on the floor, but my bottom rib is just off the ground. Look at my shoulders. I'm terrible for this. Shoulders are up by my ears. So try to lengthen your neck. Then one heel at a time flicks the bum. Do you feel how much more intense that now is? Just by shifting the position of our upper body. When you've done 8 like that, join the feet together, knees together, and do 8 with the legs connected. And you will definitely find that more challenging. Through the hamstrings, the bum, and maybe even down the outside of the legs. Here we go. When you reach 8 repetitions here, I want you to hold the legs bent there. Now separate the knees, but keep the ankles together. So now my knees are out slightly, but the ankles are together. And that should immediately feel more comfortable. Making sure you're nice and stable, I'm going to try and reach for my left foot with my left hand. Now, if that's all you want to do, then that's okay. You can stay there and stretch. Or you can now try and reach for the right foot with your right hand. And again, if that's all you want to do, just stay there. But if you think you'd like a more intense stretch, then press the front of your foot into the palm of your hands. Try and pull the thighs off the ground. Bring the shoulder blades together and lift the ribs so that we get a big extension through the spine. Once you've held that position for 2 or 3 breaths, slowly lower everything down first. Then release first one foot and then the other. You never want to come out of a stretch too quickly because then you'll lose the length that you created. From here, I'm going to push up onto my hands and back towards child's pose. Rounding my back because it feels that it now needs a stretch in the opposite direction. And then coming up onto the hands and knees, I'll tuck my toes under. Now you may need to adjust position when we get there. As you breathe out, drive the bum up into the air and push backwards towards your heels, flattening the back and trying to get the heels down to the ground. Now if you feel you need to move your feet or your hands to create a good down dog position, then move things around. Deep breath in, and as you breathe out, walk the hands slowly to the feet, or if you prefer, the feet to the hands. Let the head hang heavy. Take a deep breath in, and very slowly we start to rise. The tailbone drops, the belly button pushes up towards the ceiling. Feel the hamstrings. Feel the bum work. Realign the spine so that the spinal column is in great shape as you lift your head. Shoulders back and down. And take a little walk around. Well done, there it is. The exciting weekend can start. Excellent.